Today, I'm going to give you a masterclass on identity and why it is the foundation of everything you do in your life and everything you want. Without understanding who you are, you will never accomplish the big goals: having a successful business, making a shit ton of money, having a loving relationship, having health, loving yourself. All of these goals, whatever they are, they all start with who you are. So let's just dive in. So many of you are sitting at home in your lives right now wanting, wishing, and you ask yourselves, how do I get what I want? How do I run the marathon? How do I write the book? How do I, manifest my dream partner? How do I buy my first home? How do I start my first business? How do I work my way up to six figures? How do I make my first $1 million? And that's the wrong question. The question you should be asking yourself is, who do I need to be to accomplish all of the things we just listed? So whatever your goal is, I want you to pause the video and write it down right now. What is the big goal for your life right now? Okay. And I guarantee what you've been doing is you've been asking yourself the questions, how do I do this? And what you need to be asking is, who do I need to be? And I'm going to break down for you in this video what that is. Who is that? What is identity? And how it so drastically shapes who we are, because it's rooted in biology. Every decision you make in your life, every action you take, it all comes back down to who you are, baby. So if you don't have an understanding of that, that is why you don't accomplish anything. That is why you self-sabotage. That is why you procrastinate. That is why you pick the same partner over and over, even though you know it's bad for you. That is why you let people in your life that drain you. That is why your life looks exactly the way it looks right now. It's because of who you are. And some of you might be turning the video off already and being like, fuck you, it's not my fault that that person did that to me, and that's not what this is about. You're right. Horrible things have happened to you in your life, as they have with many people. And traumatic events are not your fault, but it is 100% your responsibility to make a decision of having a different life. If you let your trauma define the rest of your life, that is on you. And I know that's a hard pill to swallow. So let's start there. Why does trauma define so many people's lives? And how does it become part of who we are? Well, what happens when you experience a traumatic event is your brain fires on all cylinders and your amygdala takes over, okay, the fear center of your brain. And it takes over for a good reason. Sometimes you need to run away from the trauma. It kicks you in with that adrenaline and that cortisol that you need to escape. How many times have I run into a black bear in the forest and been like, oh shit, and I'm so glad my senses all heightened, so I knew, okay, this is the path I need to go. I need to give them space. Here's my bear spray. So my brain was able to work on fire on all cylinders so that I could prepare myself for this situation in case I needed to. But what happens with trauma, a traumatic event, is we start to create a story around it. We replay it all the time. It just goes over and over and over in our head. And the more that we repeat what happened and the more that we try to make sense of what happened, it becomes a neural pathway that we walk every single day. That's why survivors of war and survivors of abuse, they tend to pick situations, lifestyles, relationships that mirror and directly reflect the trauma that they had experienced in their past. What happens is the amygdala doesn't turn off. It keeps going. And it becomes who you are. I'm going to take a step back here. Before I go any further in this lesson, if you are in the beginning stages of healing your trauma, I need to make a disclosure very clear that this lesson is not the healing path for trauma. We are going to touch the surface level of the behaviors that show up as a result of trauma, but if you're in the thick of it and you need to go deeper and you need support, please just DM me, message me, and I can connect you with some resources that will help you on a level with concrete trauma-informed practices. Because I don't want to move into this personal responsibility if you are just at the beginning of healing your trauma. Those two are not going to line up. We're not in the same place with that. So please, if that's where you're at, just pause this, reach out to me, and let's take that step before we go any further. So whether you have trauma or not, the truth is bad things have happened to you. Bad things have happened to every single person in our life. I want to tell you what identity is. What makes up our identity? Identity is made up of the beliefs that we have about ourselves. Okay, so those are the stories we've told ourselves, the experiences that we've had in our life, the stories that other people have told about ourselves that we believe to be true. Identity is also made up of decisions, the decisions you choose to make or the decisions you choose to avoid making. And identity is made up of the evidence that your brain works tirelessly to collect, to prove your beliefs, to prove your decisions. And here's the thing about identity that's the most important. Every daily action is aligned with who your brain believes that you are. So even if you want to accomplish all the things, let's just use a relationship, for example. Even if you want to call in a relationship that is loving, where they care for you, they show up for you, they love you in all the ways that you love yourself. If your belief is that you are unworthy, your brain, specifically the reticular activating system, will filter out any opportunity to match that. It will continue to filter in opportunities that align with who you believe you are. So understanding that from a trauma perspective of why we can't allow our trauma to define us is we have to work very hard to write different stories. Yes, that happened to me. That is my trauma. And you can sit on the therapist couch talking about it for years. All that does is strengthen the neural pathway that you have already been walking. We have to interrupt that loop and rewire a new pathway to get you to where you want to be. Rewiring starts with getting very honest about where you are right now. It starts with a life audit. We scan the stories that we continuously tell ourselves, the habits that we've created to support our identity, to support who our brain believes we are. Some of those habits might be good. Some of those habits, probably not so good. If you believe you are unworthy of love, if you believe there are no partners out there that are going to show up for you the way that you want them to show up for you, if you truly believe that, I guarantee you are not showing up for yourself in all of those ways. You are neglecting yourself. You are self-sacrificing. You're putting other people's needs ahead of yours all the time. You probably dehydrate yourself and just push through at work. I'm just going to write 5 more emails and then I'll get up and go pee or grab that glass of water. When you do that to yourself, you teach your brain what your worth is. And you attract, like I said, your brain searches and filters in the opportunities of people that are going to treat you the same way. Getting honest about what you believe about yourself is the first step. The trick here is to not get stuck on how you got to that place. Don't get stuck in the stories. Don't get stuck in what happened to you. Don't get stuck in what people say about you. Just acknowledge where it came from, and then we move on to the next piece. I want to give you a really simple example to grasp how easy and plastic our brains are, okay? And how we take these beliefs about ourselves or what other people say about us and we carry them through to adulthood. So I'm out shopping with my 1-year-old. I have a 1-year-old, a 3-year-old, and an 18-year-old. And my 1-year-old he's got his people. He loves his people. And he's very aware of other people and unsure. So he doesn't open up. He's not like, hey, I'm just going to smile at a stranger. Now, what happens when we're out in public often is my 3-year-old, who just like adores people. He's just happy, loves life. He's just so full of energy, love, all of it. He's just waving at everybody. And we're at the till and we're checking out. I think we're at Canadian Tire and the woman's like, oh, she like says hi to my 3-year-old and then she looks at my 1-year-old and she says, oh, he's shy. And I'm like, no, he's not. He's not shy. He just doesn't know you. But do you see in that moment how hearing that over and over, which I do expect my 1-year-old will hear because of how he responds and interacts with people, as he grows older, he might start to think, I'm shy. That might become a belief he has about himself, which is why I counter it immediately and say, he's not shy. He's the most outgoing little human I know. He's a little savage, actually. He's always running around biting things. He's not shy at all. And I counter that because I understand. So this, again, isn't about blaming our parents or the people in our life that shaped our beliefs, but I need you to understand where these beliefs come from and how innocently we can adopt them about who we are. We can go around and tell ourselves like we're shy. We procrastinate. I'm just introverted, so I could never show up on social media. I could never record a YouTube video. You guys don't think I get anxious every time I set up my lights and turn on my camera? Of course I do. This does not come naturally to me. I had to rewire my brain to do this. I used to perform on stages and play music. I literally would hyperventilate backstage before going on. And back in my drinking days, I would need a drink and a shot of whiskey to even get the courage to go and perform for people doing what I love. I'm telling you this so you can understand how powerful your brain truly is. So with this knowledge and with this awareness, I want you to write out all of the ways that you define yourself. How do you talk about yourself? I'm not a morning person, or I'm not motivated enough, or I'm not disciplined enough. Just write down everything you tell about yourself, who you think you are. Maybe you align with your astrological sign and you're like, well, I'm a Taurus, so I'm bullheaded, so people just don't get along with me. They just don't understand my perspective. I really want you to get clear on those. And then next to that list, write down which ones are true about yourself. Of course, your brain's going to find that evidence, okay? Your brain will have no problem figuring out how to match the evidence with what you believe because it's been doing that your whole life. But in the third column, I want you to actually write out a counter argument for why that belief about yourself is not true. And what would you like to see instead? Bringing awareness is the first step to changing your identity because you need to understand why you are stuck, who you are being currently, so that you can rewire your brain to adopt the identity of who you want to be. There's a famous quote, and people use it all the time. Henry Ford says, whether you believe you can or believe you can't, you're right. So if we take that quote and we apply it to this context, whatever you believe about yourself currently, you can believe the opposite of that is true. That's up to you. But I need you to really understand that you can't think your way into a new identity. You have to become that person, and that requires you physically showing up as that person every single day. So after you've assessed your beliefs, which ones are true, which ones are not true for you, and which ones you just don't want to have about yourself at all because you know that they're holding you back, the next step to understanding your identity is where you want to go. Who do you want to be? What do you want your life to look like? And how you do that is by getting very clear on what do you desire? What are those results? Let's take making money. Everybody wants to make more money. We all want to have $1 million. If you look at your life from this perspective of I want to make $1 million every year, look at the person who's showing up right now, right? The one that we just talked about. Is that person, do they have the daily habits of somebody making $1 million? Do they have the attitude of somebody making $1 million? Do they show up with the joy and excitement of somebody making $1 million? Not worrying about expenses, not getting pissed off every time you go and buy strawberries or apples from the grocery store. That's right, we're not even complaining about blueberries anymore, guys, because apples are so outrageously expensive. Do you think somebody that's making that much money a year is complaining about the price of apples? Probably not. And by finding these little clues about what that person might be doing, we are actually already training our brain to understand what we need to be doing. See, here's the thing about your identity. Everything you want is over here, right? But you're over here. So all you need to do to get over here is start showing up as that person. So getting clear on the outcome. What is the desired results? Let's use a different example of relationships. Maybe you're in a relationship currently, or maybe you want to call in a relationship that really fills you up with love, a partnership, one where you connect all the time. I can be honest with you guys, I've got quite a bit of experience in relationships, and my now almost husband is just, he's my person. He's my person, but it doesn't mean that our relationship just thrives automatically. When I had back-to-back pregnancies and went through really severe postpartum, I fell heavy into a victim identity. And honestly, it was quite repelling. And I had to get very honest with myself about who do I want to be. So I want to be the woman whose partner lights up when he gets home from work and walks in the door and is so excited to see her and embraces her in a kiss and hugs her and loves her and tells her oh my gosh, I did this and this. And we have these conversations every day. And I'm like, okay, well, how's that woman showing up? How is she showing up in her relationship? And then I took it one step further, and my partner and I actually sat down and had a conversation of what do we want our relationship to look like? How do we need to show up every single day to make it look like that? Do you see how this is in your power? Now, here's the key piece to holding this identity, to developing this identity, becoming that person that has the outcome. Okay, so you're going to picture the outcome like we just talked about. You're going to picture who already has that outcome. How do they show up every single day? Then you're going to start taking these tiny little micro actions as that person. The key is celebrating. Every time you do something different, every time you get uncomfortable, because you are going to be uncomfortable becoming that version of you because it's not familiar. Your brain's going to be like, whoa, bitch, what the fuck are you doing? We're not that person. No. We don't go for a run. We sit on the couch and we watch Netflix. It's going to be uncomfortable. So you celebrate. If your goal is weight loss, your goal is to run 5 kilometers every single day, then every time you go out the door and put your running shoes on, celebrate it. Look at me. I got my running shoes on. Okay, I'm going to run around the block. You don't wait till you hit the 5K. That is how you fall back into your old identity. That is a trap. You celebrate who you're becoming on the way. And here's the most important piece from this that you can take away of understanding your identity. This is the holy grail. You already are enough. Who you want to be, everything you want, it's already inside of you. Isn't that crazy? It's already there. It is just buried under what we talked about at the beginning, the layers, the societal conditioning, the beliefs that limit us, the stories we tell ourselves, the trauma that defines our decisions. You are already that person. You just need to step into being that person every single day. That is identity. And now you understand. This is what deciding looks like. Everything you want is on the other side of a decision. Not about what you need to do, but about who you need to be. And you are that person already. You are enough. I have so much belief in each and every single one of you. If this unlocks something for you, I would love for you to share this with a friend. I would love for you to share this with somebody who you know is stuck, who you know needs to hear that they already got it. They just got to step into it. They got to unlayer all that shit. Please make sure you like, subscribe, and I would love to hear from you. What did you learn that's new about yourself, about accomplishing your goals that you've never heard before? And if there's something you would love for me to dive deeper in, I would be so honored to do that because I have an unwavering belief in your potential. And as always, I wish you nothing but success.